Let's see here. Go on to YouTube, find my old channel, go to my videos. Exit back out of there. Back onto Twitter. Get back out of there. Go back to Streamlabs. Hey, there we go. Morning, all my excellent people. Takes me a little while to get this thing set up. Sorry, y'all get to see into the mind of someone who's using an app to get around the 1,000 subscribers. Mostly because I like going live, and I like getting comments and feedback, and I'm not dragging a computer outside my front door just so I can stream live when I can just do it with my phone from the same exact location. Hey, that's where I'm at right now. Look at my front door. Isn't it pretty? My mother-in-law decorates. She's very good at it. Don't tell her I said so. So today, smoking just the last little bit of the Lane Mystery Blend. Probably the best shot of my face was right there. Of which I'll say, thank you, Martin. I appreciate it. Got a little hot coffee. If it was later tonight, it would be a little hot toddy. Actually, I'm not a big fan of hot toddies. Don't see why I would want to heat up alcohol to the point where it boils off. If I'm going to drink some alcohol, I'm going to drink it. No, it's not Cobb Tuesday. So, recently I changed my name on Twitter. Just for the fun of it. I'm going to change it back to my real name. But right now, it is Chicken Fried Steak Piper. And that got me thinking. Now this happened a few years back. So I'm going to fudge a few of the details. I'm going to delete all names. And if the person that this actually happened to or because of sees this, I apologize. And they can admit it to you or not as they see fit. Also, you're welcome. The you're welcome is, as you will see by the very end of this, at least I should hope so. Settle down. This is going to take a few minutes. Get yourself a pipe. Light it. Enjoy it. Don't drink anything that you feel would be best served by not coming out of your nose. Because I can't guarantee you won't be laughing, but I know I was when I actually got to experience it. By the way, howdy, whoever you are. Glad you could get in here and join me. Suffolk Piper, UK, hey. God, I have expanded my live streams to across the pond. That's awesome. So I'm going to tell this story. And some people it's going to completely go over their heads. But here in the south of the United States, we have long cherished our cookware, specifically cast iron cookware. And, well, a friend of mine got into a bad fight with his eventually going to be wife. They weren't even engaged at that point. But, hey, Steph and Skip. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Definitely good. 2 people in. This is awesome. So in case Steph and Skip missed it, this guy who was going to get married to this girl at some point, they weren't even engaged. They got into a bad fight, and it had to do with helping cleaning in the kitchen. And so anyways, the next day, girl went to work. The guy stayed home from work, and he scrubbed the kitchen top to bottom, cleaned everything. And then he made the worst mistake of his entire life. He decided to clean the cast iron skillets over a pipe. Hey, howdy, how you doing? So I'm not going to start over. Quick synopsis. Guy who didn't know any better decided to clean his girlfriend's cast iron skillets. Well, he scrubbed them and scrubbed them and scrubbed them. And a few hours later, they were all the way back to gray metal. Now, he lucked out. He lucked out really, really epically, because yes, as Over the Pipe has said, epic fail. Yeah, not just a little bit of fail. Epic. I came over with a six-pack. Figured I'd hang out with my buddy, see what he was doing. Well, I'm going to explain this real quick. Cast iron is bulletproof. It is the best non-stick, most durable skillet cookware that you will ever have. But it has to have a nice, thick, black coating of what's known around here as blackening. And it takes hours to put on the first coat. And then it takes years to build it up to the point where it's perfect. And if it's been cleaned all the way back to gray metal, it is now the most heavy, useless pots and pans you could ever get your hands on. Until, luckily for him, somebody like me shows back up and says, "Oh my God, no, you can't do this." But luckily I knew how to butter, salt, pepper, and a smoker grill. And about 8 hours, and we got those nice gray metal pans back to actually usable. Now, they were not going to be as good as probably the 100 years worth of a coating that he somehow managed to scrub off of there. Because I looked at these pots and pans, and they were turn of the century. And when I say turn of the century, I mean 1900s. They had maker's marks that are out of business. Stuff you couldn't get back in the 20s. And was completely out of business by the Great Depression. So we're talking about cookware that had been perfectly seasoned way back in the day and had just built up a better coating. And this guy destroyed it. And I'm just going to say this. If ever you happen to be a guy and you think for 1 minute that you're going to clean a Southern woman's kitchen, you better A, get some supervision, and B, make sure you don't touch the cast iron. It'll save you so much time. Yes, it looks black. No, it doesn't look like it's the most sanitary thing in the world. But let's remember, you're going to cook things at 400 plus degrees. You're going to destroy any bacteria that can possibly be on that thing. And for people who believe in cast iron, you'll never get it back to what it was. You can get it back to usable, but cast iron just gets better with use. Anyways, as I said, you should never clean a Southern woman's kitchen without supervision. Now, how y'all doing out there? Partially here, Houston, it's not too bad this morning. got a little bit of heat, not too bad. Well, come on, Steph and Skip. Y'all are damn near in another country. There's actually countries that are closer to Houston than El Paso. $880 miles across just I-10. Or as I like to say, I-10 in the United States can be divided in three parts. There is the West Coast to Texas, there's the East Coast to Texas, and then there's Texas. It's about 3 equal parts. I just got informed by Facebook that today is a good friend of mine's birthday. I'll reach out to him later. So I've still got 2 people here. This is amazing. That's like the most people I've had in a live in like since YouTube changed their whole policy and made it impossible to do lives. Oh, okay. It is Lane Mystery. Martin sent it to me. I think I've narrowed it down to actually being LL7. I might be wrong, but when I read the description of LL7, it said you're going to get some marshmallow and some hints of chocolate. And that's about what I mean, when I first lit it up, that was what I really thought. I was like, marshmallow? What in the heck? I mean, not that it's bad, just that you're not ever really expecting marshmallow. So marshmallow with a little drizzle of chocolate is pretty good. Of course, I knew there was no Perique and no Latakia. So that made it pretty easy to narrow that down just by eliminating that and going with the fact that it was a Lane blend. That allowed me to really narrow the field down pretty quickly. Oh, man. I need to get Yardism's camera crew. They do a much better job than I do. Now, did you get Esoterica Stonehaven? Or like I did you get Vanilla Stones? Or like Chad, did you get Cherry Haven? Gotta pick on Martin. And did y'all see the epic way his sound engineer failed on him Or is it an audio engineer? Yeah. Feel bad for the guy. So have you had the black mal mallory? I'm going to be lucky if I can ever figure out how to say some of these things. I got the word black. Oh, nice. A nice heavier English blend. I like English blends. But, I mean, I was always a fan of the Dunhill 965. After that, if you're a fan of that, you might as well just say you're a fan of English blends. Oh yeah, I mean, that's the classic. That's like seeing a perfectly restored Model T, and you gotta at least have some appreciation. I'm not even a Ford guy, and I appreciate a perfectly restored Model T. Hell, my theory on Fords is if you're going to get one, buy two. That way you can strip parts off of one to repair the other. You'll thank me later. Of course, you wouldn't be able to tell it by looking at the driveway right now. There's a Mustang and an Escape sitting in it. Of course, what gets used most? Dodge Ram. Welcome to Texas. So, now that I've shared my story of complete misery and woe upon some guy that, as I said, will not be named, anybody got anything they want to talk about? I'm open to anything. I think we've almost got Phil convinced to make a video. My fear is Phil will do this. Good cuts of steak. I'm willing to talk about that all day long. So I'm thinking Phil's going to do this. He's going to turn on the computer, pull up his channel, hit the record button, say, "Is this thing on?" Hit the end button and be done with it. One video. You know, nobody's saying it's got to be a good video or it's got to be long or actually entertaining or informative or anything. They just want him to Um, Now, of course, there's always the porterhouse and the T-bone steak, which actually is two different cuts, and always a good thing. Uh, if I remember correctly, you get the filet and the New York strip off of a T-bone. Uh, you don't actually have to call it a New York strip. It could just be a strip steak. Uh, Now, obvious with my just recent change of name for Twitter, that is, the chicken bride steak, which should be either a cube steak or a skirt steak. My grandmother said it should be the skirt steak. Could be either. Both are good cuts if properly prepared. If I was to go into my absolute favorite steak, though, sirloin and ribeye, realistically my favorites. I think ribeye is truly my favorite, just because I like a good little bit of marbling. I believe that it imparts a little bit of extra something to the meat when it's grilled. Now, there's an issue with that statement, and that's that a lot of people believe that you should fry a steak. Circle the way back 300 back to a steak. You do it cast iron. You could probably fry a steak in anything, but us purists, we really think just throw it over some open flame and grill it. Now, what actually makes the steak correct? You got, you know, hey, look, frames were dropped from low bandwidth. Yeah, that's probably often enough my problem right here at home. Back to steaks. There's a lot of stuff that goes into steaks. Using fresh spices, I think, is very important. Quite often, if I don't have time to let them really mature enough, I'm pretty sure it's my end. I've got like 3 bars. And this is where I get the best reception in the house. Absolute. So one of the things I do to make sure that a steak turns out real nice, if I don't have enough time to let it age just perfectly, about 4 hours before I put it on the grill, I go pick some fresh rosemary, enough to put 1 sprig on each side of each steak. And I go ahead and I put them in there with some Italian dressing. But then about an hour Let's call it about an hour before I get them on the grill. I pull them out and bring them up to room temperature, nice and slow, just on a counter. A lot of people don't do this. They just bring them straight out the fridge and straight onto the fire. And I think that pushes some of the juice out of the meat, in my opinion. I've always found that you get a juicier cut by bringing it up nice and slow to a room temperature of some sort. Let me see here. Let's see if we can't go to... You're just not willing to have good steaks. One sprig on each side, and that imparts a nice, wonderful flavor to the meat. You burn it and it will push some of that flavor right into the meat. Another fun and interesting thing along that line is pork chops. With pork chops, you can get the big thick ones, but you got to be willing to go low and slow. Take your time. Keep the flame away from the steaks. Cook them with a baking style of heat. Not saying don't grill them. On the big thick ones, and I put them right on top of the fire to give them some good grill marks and that heat. I've found it does better that way. But the super thin ones, also often enough called breakfast chops, you take those and you put them on high heat, as high as you can get them, right on top of the flame, and every 60 seconds you turn it a quarter. Next 60 seconds you flip it. Next 60 seconds you turn it a quarter. Next 60 seconds you pull them off and take them inside to eat. If you're trying to feed a crowd, those thin pork chops are the fastest, yummiest way to go. I mean, not everybody's going to agree with me on this, but if you're trying to do it fast, that's what I recommend. Of course, you might want to have some other options for your Muslim or Jewish friends. They're not going to go with the pork chops. Not happening. Now, if you live somewhere near southern border of Texas, at that point, I'm going to suggest talking to some of your southern border friends. Just being honest. Some of the things that they know how to bring out the flavor of is mind-blowing. I mean, most people think of Mexican food as tacos and burritos, enchiladas. That's all they can think of. I'm thinking barbacoa and cabrito and carne guisada. Oh my God, just million and three things I could think of. I can walk into a, oh yeah, chili rellenos. Definitely chili rellenos. See, we're right there on the same page. Barbacoa. I mean, it doesn't have to be fancy to be delicious. I'm making myself hungry, Skip. I always worry when someone starts asking me about food. In case y'all are wondering, drinking a little coffee. That's Houston blend out of HEB. Made sure to pick up a little bit for the date of 7/13. Skip and Steph know what I just said.
Were you still planning on going to Walmart?
Yeah, if you need me to.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, I'll be done in a minute. The boss has spoken. I am right now planning on going to Walmart. Well, that means I gotta cut this quick. She doesn't believe in I'll be ready in a minute, meaning longer than 30 seconds if it's me. So, as per always, my friends, my family, y'all be careful out there. And as always, long lives, big bowls, and long ashes. Y'all take care, and I'll see you soon.